Hello, welcome to Arcade Cuties. My name is Faye. My pronouns are they, them. And today we're doing an episode that is going to bring me an extreme amount of joy. And I'm going to try to keep it under like 2.5 to 5 hours, We're going to be talking about the Resident Evil series with a bunch of friends. So if y'all want to go like one at a time and introduce yourselves, we can do name, pronouns, and the kind of stuff that y'all do.
Okay, well, my name is Malore. I normally go by Mal, and my pronouns are they, them. Yeah, it's me. I'm not good at introductions. I stream on Twitch, where you can find me, Malore with 3 R's. I also do silly little TikToks, and I've started recently posting, actually, Resident Evil playthroughs on YouTube. So, nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Ooh, you're so cool. Okay, hi, my name is Menji. My pronouns are they, them. I am a Honduran content creator. I was born, I've lived all my life here, and I am an architect by day. And in my free time, I do streaming, I do silly little TikToks too. And what else can I tell you? I love Resident Evil. I love horror. That's it.
My name is Mick, or Miktastic on Twitch. I'm a musician and a potter. My pronouns are Zer and they, them. And I also love Resident Evil. It was probably the first horror game that I ever played. Resident Evil 2, I think. And then I played a bit of like Silent Hill and Alone in the Dark. Resident Evil's my favorite though.
It's so good. You said pottery. Is that like clay, or are you working with other materials?
Working with clay, yeah. I mostly do wheel work. I'm not very good at hand building, so.
That sounds so fun.
That's so cool. I miss pottery.
I go by Rat, aka Rat Pack, and my pronouns are they, he. I mainly stream on Twitch, mostly horror with a side of variety, and you can also find me on YouTube and TikTok. My Resi 7 and Resi 8 first playthroughs are actually on YouTube as well, and watching them back to see like how much that I've grown. I actually always claimed to never like horror games, and now here I am.
Same.
Obsessed with Resident Evil.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
And you recently started a playthrough of Until Dawn, right?
Yeah, I actually just finished that yesterday. That was definitely a ride for sure.
Are you like trying to push yourself to get more into horror, like in general?
It's actually because of Resident Evil that's pushed me to try horror games. Because I remember playing like Dead Space or attempting to play like Dead Space in the past and getting like 20 minutes into the game and exiting and not touching it again. And I gave the Resi series a go, and then like after I got into that, I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna give all these games a go, and yeah, no, here I am.
I guess we'll start off. If you're not familiar with Resident Evil, it's a huge franchise with a ton of different properties and film. It has board games, there's video games, there's probably novelizations and comics. Like, the world of Resident Evil is huge, which is kind of wild when you consider that it started off as like a take on another video game that itself was based on a movie. But it is one of my favorites. It's a comfort series for sure. I love just about everything about Resident Evil, and God, I cannot wait to like talk about these games with y'all. It's going to be so much fun. What was y'all's entry point into the series?
Well, for me, the people in this voice chat are kind of some of the people that got me into Resident Evil, because I had a very similar experience to Rat when I first started at horror games. I tried Outlast. I lasted also only like 20 minutes, and then I had like a panic attack, and then I was like, horror games, not for me. But then I started watching like more friends playing Resident Evil, and I was like, okay, this seems like a type of horror game that I could actually like maybe not have a panic attack while playing. So then I started with Resident Evil 2, and I binged through it. I could not stop playing it. And then I did 3. And And then I'm playing through Resident Evil 4 right now. And I also played through Village with my wife. And that she did most of the playing though, because I was like, I'm a wimp. I'm not gonna. I was like, I can't play those games by myself. But now I have a goal to replay those Biohazard and Village by myself eventually.
I first started playing not so long ago. I was gonna say last year, but we're in 2023, so last year.
Yeah, time is not real.
Yeah, I started gaming actually in the pandemic. So I got a Nintendo Switch because everyone was playing Animal Crossing. And before that, I never had a console or a PC or anything. So I'm very, very new to any video game actually. And for some time, I only played like cozy games like Animal Crossing. I started going into Dead by Daylight, I remember. And then Dead by Daylight came out with this collaboration with Resident Evil. So I was like interested. And I saw one of my friends playing on Twitch for the first time, Resident Evil 2 remake. And that was, I think, like the start, because she was mentioning that it was on sale back then. And I got like 3 of the games, and I've never played something like that. And I played Resident Evil 2 Remake first, and I loved it. Like, I've never played a puzzle game or anything like that, but I've always liked horror and the concept of monsters, and especially zombies. I love it. I love that. I've played through Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, 7, and Village. And I'm going through Resident Evil 4 right now. So I have a long way to go, but the brain rot is there.
I didn't get into Dead by Daylight until like it was early on in the pandemic, I feel like, because multiplayer games just like weren't a thing that I was focused on for the most part. And so I remember talking to a friend when I started getting into it about like, you know, dream franchises that we would want to see a crossover with. And they were like, oh, I would love to see an It, like Pennywise coming down on balloons would be very scary.
That'd be so
And
cool.
I was like, I think it would be so cool to have Nemesis chasing you. And they were like, yeah, you and every other Resident Evil fan. Like, and then they did it, and it was so cool. And now Wesker's there, and I feel bad because I have not. I haven't even gone against Wesker. Like,
Me neither.
We need to do custom matches then.
I fell off of DVDs so hard. But if I went back, I would. There are so many Resident Evil skins now. It's like dangerous for my wallet.
Could you imagine if they put Mr. X in DVD and you just heard his big old stompers?
I was hoping they were going to put Mr. X in, but
Yeah, I would still like to see him in there.
Imagine doing the flashlight thing and then his like hat falls off. That would be amazing.
I would actually love that because you can add, I'm pretty sure one of the animations, you could like when you knock Wesker's glasses off in the Mori, like I want that, but with Mr. X's hat for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are a lot of like the bosses from the early Resident Evils that you could essentially use for a skin, like Birkin. It's just a big guy with the claw, and you could swap out the tentacle for like his big old rebar pole that he uses. Even like an original Tyrant, kind of that same thing.
yeah, I've got a lot to play with. I actually started off pretty early because I mean I've been gaming since I was like 2, so I played my first Resident Evil game was OG2, and I started off with Leon because why not? Leon's like my favorite character. Yeah, and I actually played all of them like out of order. Like I started with 2, and then I played 4, and then I played 1, which 1 was the one that scared me the most because of like the Crimson Heads. Like I didn't expect them to, you know, pop up and chase me around the Spencer Manor. And I liked 0 a lot. And And then I played 5 and then 6 and then 7. I still haven't really played 8, but I've played, the 2 remake, and I have the 3 remake, which I also have not finished or anything.
It's so good.
But yeah, 2 and 4 are my favorite. I like Leon, like I said. So I'm really excited for the 4 remake to come out in March. Cannot wait.
We are going to be unhinged.
Yeah. All of us will be intolerable when that comes out, I feel like.
Insufferable.
Yeah.
My Twitter will be just Resident Evil.
Yeah, only Leon.
That's my Twitter anyway, but it's going to be next level when this game comes out.
I saw a screenshot, I think Nyreen had sent it to me, where they were the directors of Resident Evil 4 Remake have confirmed that there will be zero cut content.
Oh my
and
God.
that we're actually adding more. And I was like, oh no, Resident Evil 4 already has a lot.
Yeah. It's a long one.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to play through it, but I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what they're going to add to it.
But it's so good. Yeah.
Some more Leon Kennedy babysitting simulator.
Yeah.
Did Resident Evil 2 get ported to GameCube? Was that the console that you were playing it on, or
Oh no, I played it on the OG PS1.
Okay.
I don't know if it got ported to the GameCube, but it might have.
I know 3 did,
Mhm.
and 2 was on N64.
Right.
Nintendo they sometimes have a weird policy of if we do a console, or if we do a game on one console, we're gonna wait till the generation after, it skips every other for remakes. So I wasn't sure. I know that the Resident Evil remake that they did for the GameCube initially, as part of that Capcom exclusivity deal, I think that was part of it, is considered one of the best of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I still haven't played it, but I love watching playthroughs of it.
It's so much fun.
Someday I'll get to it. The fixed camera is very intimidating.
Oh yeah, I could not do it.
I know a lot of people that played Resident Evil, they started with 7 or 8, and they try to go back to the old ones, and they're like, I can't play this with these
That's me.
tank controls. It's well, that's what. Yeah, it's that's what all the horror games were back then. So for me, I'm used to it. So I doesn't bother me much, but
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to get used to. I think because I remember I started out with, I think, the 2 remake, and then went back to play OG1, and I kept getting so lost. So I left it. And I've still yet to complete it. But now that I've played through all of them, and especially 0, I'm going to go back to it. It was definitely a lot to get used to for me.
Yeah, and I think 0's if you can get through 0, you can get through 1 no problem. 0 is hard.
It really is. That game was a lot.
It's the most
but it was really
mechanically
fun.
dense.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. But I really enjoyed it, despite how frustrated it made me.
I think I've talked about this before. Maybe not. All these conversations, as soon as we're done recording, they just blink from my mind. So if I'm repeating myself, apologies. But my very first Resident Evil was 4. It was one of those games where my best friend in high school, Jerry, we were just sitting there, and he was like, I played this game and it's so scary and you need to check it out right away. And so I put it in my backpack before any teachers or supervising staff could see that we brought video games to school. Mm-hmm. And then I remember loading it up in my PS2. And with Resident Evil 4, there's no tutorial or anything when you first get into it. You don't get the tutorial until after you've encountered your first enemies, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
And so I remember being very confused by the controls at first, and I didn't think I was going to get through it because I wasn't used to that. It's very stiff. Resident Evil 4 revolutionized over the shoulder third person shooters, but is still very weird to like only be able to move forward and not while you're shooting. And so I brought it back like a couple days later, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this. And he was like, no, like, trust me, once you get past the village part, like, you'll be set. And ever since then, I have been one of the biggest like Resident Evil proponents out there.
Yeah. I think that like the not being able to move while shooting in Resident Evil 4, especially because I'm playing it now after playing the RE2 remake and RE3 remake. So then I went to Resident Evil 4 and I was like, these controls are infuriating. I was so upset when I couldn't move and shoot at the same time. I was like, this is so much harder, and I've died so much more in this game than I did in 2 or 3.
I feel that so much.
And it counts them. It counts your deaths too. And that's a little... It eventually got to the point, I think maybe on my second or third playthrough, where I'm very stubborn when it comes to games sometimes and like my save data. And so like if I recorded or if I die, I will, instead of like having that death on my save, I'll just like hard reset the game or something. It's like, nope, we're doing this right the first time.
Right.
Oh my god.
It's not smart. It's not a good, like, it's very frustrating, but...
That's how you get the S tier playthroughs.
Yes, for sure. I've not played Resident Evil 5 all the way through. I remember playing the demo when it first came out, and then I didn't have a 360, I think. So the next one that I went to was RE6, and I was like...
Wow.
I have such a soft spot in my heart for Resi 6. Like it was one of the games that, like, you know, I think I was still in high school, but I saved up and like pre-ordered, and like I beat like all of the campaigns, I think, before the first major update.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I did. It was a lot of like sleepless nights. It was so new, in fact, that like Ada's campaign, when it launched, because, you know, it's a multiplayer game, right? You can have like people play online. If you're playing solo, she didn't have a companion until the first major update, and then they added like a nameless like umbrella grunt who can assist. So I beat her campaign like totally alone, and then I think I tried to launch into it like a couple months ago, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, just some rando.
Yeah, it's very weird. And I remember being so excited, like, with the demo for that one, and like all the teaser images, like before we knew anything. Like coming from Resident Evil 4, I was like, oh my god, is that Ashley? Like, is she a badass now? And it's Cheryl, and I hadn't played RE2 at that point. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know who that is, but Wesker has a son? That's so weird.
That was wild.
Yeah.
I know it's a contentious like entry into the series because of like how action focused it is. It's like a Michael Bay flick, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. There's so much action.
Yeah, much less horror.
It was definitely, I only played Leon's campaign because it was a lot. It's definitely, like, I'm new to Resi. I didn't start playing the games until 2021, I think, like late 2021. But I think it was a couple of months ago I played through Leon's campaign in 6, and it was a lot. Like, I almost felt like out of breath playing it because it was so like full of like action and stuff. So I have yet to get around to the other campaigns, and I do want to give it another go. But it was like I really had to like concentrate for it, because me and like really fast paced like action shooters, I'm not the best. I did like it, and I do want to give it another go.
It's definitely one of those games that I would recommend playing with like someone else.
Yeah, co-op is actually like
that's
fun.
That's what I want to try. I know me and Mick have said that we'll have to play Resi 6 together at some point.
Taking notes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to play those by myself when I get to those games.
Mal, let's do it.
Please. I was literally just thinking that. You literally just read my mind.
Let's go.
I can't remember if you're playing online, do you only see the single player view, or does it do split screen?
I don't know.
I think you see the single player.
Sure.
Okay, that's good. Because the split screen for that is kind of atrocious. Instead of like splitting the screen directly in half, you each get like a third of the top and bottom screen.
Yeah.
It's such a weird little perspective, and it's like kind of hard to see stuff. But there weren't like a ton of couch co-op games, and there still aren't like now. So it was like kind of exciting to play with my friend Jerry. But I definitely like, part of me was like, as soon as you're gone, like I'm gonna finish this game. Like I'm gonna do it. Like I cannot wait, and I cannot like try to get through this with this tiny view.
Yeah, rough.
And then my dad is like in love with the Resident Evil movies too.
Yes.
Which can be their own can of worms for people, because they're not, I don't know, a lot of people throw fits when like the Resident Evil movies and TV shows aren't entirely in line with the games, or like tonally are very weird. I don't know. I have very little interest in like a grimdark Resident Evil movie or series, and I also feel like you're kind of overlooking the camp that is inherent to.
Oh my god,
especially those
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I
That's why
personally,
I love Resident Evil, because I think it's so camp, especially like when I got around to playing 5. Like I had really low expectations for it, because I know a lot of people don't like 5 or 6. But I like, it's not like the strongest game in the series, but I just had like, I was just so surprised with how campy it was, but it was great. And yeah, that's something I love about the series, for sure.
yeah. I personally adore the Resident Evil movies, but I like have them very separate in my mind, and I can easily separate them. And I think that's why I love the Resident Evil movies, because I can very easily separate them and like the content of the movies to the games. And it has a lot of really cool nods to the games, even though it's very different. Those have kind of become comfort movies for me. Like I've just kind of, Resident Evil everything has become a comfort for me. So even the movies, I love them so much. They bring a lot of comfort to me. I don't know. When I can't play the games, I want to watch the movies.
The Paul W.S. Anderson movies are like quintessential dad movies. Like,
yeah,
they're just silly action. And like Paul W., like, as a director and a writer, I think his main intention with those goals was like, hey, my wife, Mila Jovovich, is very hot. And so I want to be able to show that off and have her do cool stunts.
And I love that about it.
I can respect that.
I appreciate it.
Mila is so hot. Oh my God.
I even like Welcome to Raccoon City to an extent, because like, and that was not a popular movie either, but that was made like especially for me, where it's like, here are all the little trivia bits that you love, Faye. Like, look, here's Lisa Trevor. Isn't that great?
Yes.
Don't you remember her? Fantastic. I literally cheered when the giant crocodile appeared in the Netflix Resident Evil TV show, because it was so unexpected.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like, it's just like, you can't take, there's sewer gators that you have, like giant sewer gators. You can't take it that seriously.
The sewer babies.
It's so good.
Or the liquor. When that appeared in
Yeah.
the series, I was clapping. I really like the series a lot. A lot of people didn't like it, but I enjoyed it as its own little world.
Yeah, you have to separate them, definitely. Like similar to like the movies, you have to like, because almost any type of media, I feel like, where it's based off of a video game, people are going to be disappointed because it's not the same as a video game. Even if you like the content is very similar to what the original video game was, you're not going to have the same emotional investment in a movie as you do a video game when you're like very actively controlling it. So I think that most people just get very disappointed when, you know, the movie content or TV show content that's based off of video games doesn't give you the same emotional reaction. And I think that's why a lot of people get those like negative opinions about it, because they're just like, this doesn't feel the same. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to feel the same. It's a movie.
Right. It's hard to condense like 10 to 20 hours of experience into an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like something is going to get lost along the way. I think Resident Evil 6 was also my first like experience with Matt Mercer. Like I think that was like right when his career started to blow up. He was just a baby. And now he's everywhere.
Literally, he's in everything now. He's in my anime that I watch. He's in everything.
What is y'all's like favorite game in the series or that you've played so far?
Resident Evil 2 remake.
Okay.
For sure. It's the only like I don't know how it became a comfort game for me, but it's a game that I wish that I could replay for the first time again. You know, it's become one of those for me. And then the 3 remake is probably a close second, but mostly just because of Jill and Carlos and because I'm in love with them.
They have such a good little relationship.
I know. I have Carlos's beefy arms like on my stream all the time. I have a little sassy PNG of him that just like sits on my just chatting screen and poses because I'm just so in love with him. I want to bite him.
Especially because like I think in the original he was such a generic like military man. They really gave him like a fitting personality and like made him attractive in more ways than one with the remake.
Yes.
And then he went on to do Chris in Resident Evil Village. Poor Chris. Poor Chris can't keep an actor or a face between any of these games.
Oh my god, so
he's a shapeshifter.
We don't talk about Chris in Resi 7. I don't know who that is.
Shapeshifter.
I think my favorite Resi game, I'm also going to go for the Resi 2 remake, which it probably didn't start off as my favorite, but I've played it like 15 times. So I think maybe that's an indicator of it being my favorite. With a close second probably being Village. So I feel like it probably took me like a little while to really get into the games and like the universe. So like I played that first and then probably left it for almost a year, and then I went back to it and I don't know, just kind of fell in love with it like the second time I played through it. And I've ended up like learning how to like not like speed run it, but like I've learned how to like finish one of like either Leon or Claire's story in like 2 hours, and like I know the ins and outs of everything of that game. Like I don't know. I think it's definitely like a source of comfort for me as well. And it's funny, like I really wish I had my first playthrough saved. Because I was like terrified the first time I played that game. I was jumping at everything. It took me ages to complete it, and I'm in love with that game. It's so fun. I think it's just such a huge source of joy for me. And then obviously like a close second being Village. I think the story for Village is so incredible. I kind of wish that they expanded on some parts of it. But after I finished that game, I was so emotional.
Especially after that
really
DLC
beautiful.
that came out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That broke me, like, in more ways than one. Like, it made me, like, it broke my heart because, like, it was so sad, but also, returning to the Beneviento house, I will literally never forgive Capcom for that. I cried because I was so scared.
I love that.
It was horrible.
The door.
It was terrifying. I was literally like sobbing. I was so thankful my wife was playing through that part. I don't think that I could play that DLC by myself. I'm gonna be honest.
I wanted to like give the keyboard to chat like so bad. I hated every second of that house with the dolls. It was
so.
I have goosebumps.
Crawly. Like those dolls are the worst.
But it was so good.
And then you get Alice in Wonderland and you're tiny and it's like, oh, I can't deal with this. I don't like dolls either. Like that's like my one ick factor. It's just like I can't deal with dolls or mannequins. And they were like, they heard that and they cranked it up to 11.
It was the mannequins for me. I couldn't I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that was terrifying.
Resident Evil 2 does such a good job of introducing its monsters though. Like from the liquor, like poking around the corner, crawling on the wall, to Mr. X like lifting up that helicopter. Like even the plant like zombies like suddenly rising at once. I think Resident Evil 2 does the best job of like of of putting those monsters in your face like just long enough so you can like see them and question it and then just like turn around and run.
Yeah, I just remember playing through Resident Evil 2 remake for the first time, and just after Marvin like turned and then going down and listening to something like crawling on top of like the sewers or whatever was down there, and then you see William for the first time. That was so awesome for me. Like, I love horror. Like, the thing that has scared me the most about Resident Evil, I think it was in Village. The thing they called the baby, but it's not a baby.
Oh, fuck the baby.
That you're
so
stuck in the elevator. I was literally crying on stream because that was disgusting, but I loved it so much. I loved every second.
It's so good. And I didn't see it coming because like it's like its own little escape room with a ton of puzzles, and it's just like it's so isolated as its own thing, but it's like one of the strongest parts 100%, of that game,
like,
for sure.
you know, the first part that you go through in Village, being the Temitras castle, like, I don't know how they did it, but like the change of tone and atmosphere in that game, like I remember playing it for the first time and going through the castle, and you know, I was having the time of my life. I mean, being chased by hot vampires, I was not complaining.
Yeah. When they did it through that desk.
Yeah, I was like, this is great. Like, I love this game. And then I remember like going down that like foggy path to the Beneviento house with like the visions of Mir, and I was like, okay, hang on a minute. I was like, I don't know about this. And like when Ethan puts the photo through the door and like it opens, he goes into the house. Like, even though there's nothing like wrong with it, it's just an empty house, right? But like as soon as like I stepped foot in there or in the game, I was like, I want to go. Like, I want to leave because I don't know what it is about this. Like, the atmosphere just completely changed for me, and I was like, oh god. And that was definitely a time for me to get through that part. But that's like one of my favorite moments in the game. Even like now, I struggle to go through the Beneviento house, but I don't know. I really like admire them for how they managed to do that. And throughout all of Village, really, like with each different section that you go through, it's just so good.
4's my favorite. I don't know, especially the Wii version. Just having the motion controls and being able to like aim with motion controls or like use your knife with motion controls. That
does sound cool.
I would love to try that.
Groundbreaking for me. So, and I also, like I said before, I love Leon. So like this is the first time you really get to see like Leon fleshed out. Like he's not the rookie cop anymore.
His kicks in RE4. Oh my god.
Yeah. And like RE4 is filled with like so many like really cool characters. Like
I don't like the little Lord Farquaad looking dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I love Salazar. He's so good.
I cannot wait to shoot him with a rocket launcher. That's been my tactic through RE4 is just every boss battle I come with a rocket launcher.
Oh, I feel so bad for him. I know some of y'all said you're still like playing through 4, so I don't want to like spoil stuff accidentally, but he's just a little guy.
He's a little guy. He's a little brat. That's what he is.
No, the second he appeared on screen and just gave his like Mr. Kennedy, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
So good.
Good villain for sure.
He really is. Yeah.
And I've heard that the Wii version is like the definitive
It
version
really
for a lot of
is.
people for
Yeah.
RE4, and that the motion controls like really do a lot to make the mechanics easier. Have you gotten to play it in VR yet?
I haven't, but I would like to one of these days.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I got to play it on my sibling's console because I think I was visiting, and he just got one from work, and he was like, "Here, I know you like this game. You should try it. I can't play it because it's too scary." And so, I mean, it does change it up a little bit, like from what you're used to, but I've probably played through RE4 like dozens of times, so it still felt like very natural. And I remember my niece was there because you can watch the gameplay on a person's phone, and so they were watching me play through it. And I think I got to the village with like Dr. Salvatore, the chainsaw guy. And she was like, "Can I play?" And and my sibling was just like, "Absolutely not. Like, you would be terrified." Yeah, no, because like VR especially has a ton of solid horror, but I have not like gotten very into that. Like I played a bit of 7 in VR.
Oh my god, I could
Nope,
not.
absolutely not.
And I think I would love to play Village in VR. Actually, the third person feels a little finicky to me.
Yeah,
like,
I thought that.
And I don't know what it is because it's the same engine as the RE2 and 3 remake, but there's just like something that doesn't quite click with the aiming for me.
I thought for me, not necessarily like the gameplay, but I was hoping it'd be like a little bit smoother because all the cutscenes are still in first person. That really threw me off.
Yeah.
I don't think I even did a full playthrough in third person. But yeah, I know what you mean. It didn't feel quite like they'd smoothed it out completely, but it was cool to see Ethan in third person.
I don't know why they're so fixated on not letting you see his face, though. Like,
There's a version of his face out there. There's a version out there. I saw it, and like someone sent it to me while I was on stream when we played the DLC, and I literally screamed.
I think
because I know it's just like the most average looking face, but the fact that he like turns away from the camera, like
he's just a dad.
he is like he just looked like just such like a typical dad. I think because like if you like, I think how people got it was because they've like done his full face model, right, and they just don't like let us see it. People have used like like the out of bounds like camera and stuff to zoom in on him when he's been in like cutscenes like in the DLC and towards the end of the game.
Yeah,
which is cool to see. I kind of wish they did show us his face.
They did it just to be dicks. They were like, "We know you want this, but we already gave you tall vampire hot mommy, so now you guys don't get dad face." Sorry.
Mal just sent us a picture, and he has this expression that I can't quite. He just kind of looks incredulous, like he's not really sure what to make of anything that's going on.
It's accurate.
I feel like if I went through the events of 7 and 8, I would probably look like permanently concerned.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit.
Especially after 7. Like that.
After my hands.
Oh, yeah.
He's been through it.
This poor hands. What is their obsession with harming this man's hands?
I just love that it was like not addressed at all, like in Village, when his hand just like comes clean off and like he doesn't say anything and he just like super glues it on as if that's just like a day-to-day thing for him. And I remember like seeing that. Well, it is. You are right. And I was like, is he like, is that it? Was there nothing to say about him sticking his hand back on? Right. I was like, okay.
He's unfazed.
Very, very minor spoilers for Village if you haven't played it. But do you think he knows that? I guess not. He doesn't know because there's a cutscene that like where Evelyn reveals that he has been dead the entire time. But it's just like, what? There's something. There's like a logical leap he's either not making or something where he's just like, I lose limbs all the time and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like a lizard.
Maybe he's just like in denial the whole time. I think Mia definitely knows something, like with that when we see her towards the end of Village and she meets up with Chris and, Chris is like, oh my God, he's dead. And she's like, well, actually. So, yeah, it's interesting to think about whether I don't know. I think he's just probably in denial because he doesn't even like question anything that happens to him through the events of 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I like Resident Evil 2 Remake a lot. That's the one I played through the most, but I have to say that my favorite is 7. just because of how like encapsulated you are. Like everything is so close to you. It's so dark. You're constantly stressed, trying to go somewhere, trying to escape someone. I just loved it so much. It felt like actually being in a movie and not wanting to be caught.
Yeah.
But also Resident Evil Village is like a close favorite because I have daddy issues and the ending.
Maybe that's why I like Lady D so much, because I have mommy issues.
Oh my god.
It explains it all, you know.
It always comes back to the
That
parent
game
issues.
is built for everyone.
Yeah.
Me,
7 being your
like
favorite?
looking at Lady D and Wesker, like,
Now, 7 being your favorite, Menji, makes a lot of sense, especially since you like the aspect you love most about these things is the horror. And I think that like kind of universally around the Resident Evil community, everybody kind of agrees that 7 is like the scariest, like the most horrifying to play through.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to play that in VR.
Oh my god, no. Just dealing with the mother portion alone in VR, I think I would pee my pants.
I was just thinking about that. Or even the garage fight.
Oh my god, I hated that
Oh,
fight.
gosh.
Ooh, getting into the car or something. Oh, I would love that so much.
That game also has its own like version of the escape room with Lucas's like happy birthday puzzle. I feel like that one would be it would be a lot to do in VR,
Oh my
especially like
gosh,
when
yeah.
that cloud grabs
The
you.
toilet.
Oh my god, I would cry.
yeah, I think I'd just like pass out. Like, I would love to try the Resi games in VR, but I don't know. And then I think about it and I'm like, could I do that in like first person, like myself?
I couldn't. I'm realistic with myself. I can't even do like watched a friend do Phasmophobia in VR and I was like, absolutely not. No.
Are y'all into like video essays at all?
Sometimes.
Yes,
Sometimes.
sometimes. I've watched a lot of I want to give them a rewatch actually. After I finished Village, I binge watched like every video essay I could find on YouTube.
Oh, me too. Every time I finish a video game, I'm
Yes.
going to YouTube.
Yeah.
Me too.
I like to watch them while I'm working.
There's a very good one for RE7 that's just called How Resident Evil 7 Saved Resident Evil. I watched it a while ago, and like obviously it did a lot to like revive the series, both in terms of like tone and mechanics. But I think that video essay also talks about like the speedrunning community that has been built up by Resident Evil fans. Resident Evil speedruns like on GDQ are some of my favorite things to watch. Like I've probably watched the RE4 speedrun like multiple times just because I like speedruns in the background, like as background noise. But yeah, it's just, it really did change the game. I'm very curious, like, because I think it sounds like Mick, you and I have the most like time invested, like years back invested in the series. Like what was your mindset like when Resident Evil 7 was announced and then like eventually released?
I mean, I was a little skeptical at first because it was, you know, like first person. That was like kind of like the first time, I guess, unless you count Umbrella Chronicles, but that one's on rails. So yeah, so like I was a little skeptical, but then, you know, I gave it a try and I loved it. So I don't know. I still feel like 4 was kind of like the sweet spot for Resident Evil, but I do like that they're kind of trying to go back to like the horror roots.
I think that's why Resident Evil Village was so appealing to me, because it is essentially first person Resident Evil 4. Like they have a lot of similarities, both mechanically and, you know, from a story perspective almost. So Village, I think, is probably my second favorite game out of them. It's just so much fun. That one's very fun to like speed through. And yeah, the story makes me very emotional. Like Todd Soley, who plays Ethan, got some flack in 7 because Ethan just like does not react to much in 7. I think that's just because they were trying to insert the player in that role, and so like you would have a character who doesn't say a lot, kind of like Link.
Mm-hmm.
He gives such a good performance in Village, and the DLC makes me very emotional too. It's just so good. I love Resident Evil.
Yeah, I really like Ethan as a character. I feel like sometimes the opinions on him are quite like divided, but I really grew to like him. Like you said with Village, in his story, I think they did a really great job with his character.
Yeah, me too. I didn't understand when I played when I played Resident Evil 7 the first time. I didn't understand that the secondary ending where you don't choose Mia, I didn't realize that wasn't like a canon ending. And I remember doing that because I was like, you put me in this situation, I'm not picking you. I was literally so mad. I was like, no, why would I save you? You're the reason I'm here. So I didn't. And then when I started Village with my wife, I was like, what? I was so confused.
Their relationship is kind of questionable at times. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's the most healthy thing for them.
At times.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it was a lot. I would have liked to know a little bit about her.
Yeah.
And more of what was going on inside of her head while she was being, like, I don't know, possessed.
Yeah, because even that's like kind of a weird turn, that Mia section where you're like, oh, she's like a spy, kind of? Like, we don't really know a whole lot about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very weird. I think I'm much more invested in the Leon and Ada potential will they, won't they, like...
Yes.
And more seems at stake with them where they're like flirting and it's like, oh, I have secrets that could destroy the world, but like, do you want to take a second to give some witty banter? God, they're so good. And he is just like, he is so puppy dog in love with her in Resident Evil 2. Like,
oh, yeah.
It cracks me up.
I mean, do you blame him? You all saw that red dress. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yep.
I like that you mentioned, Rat, that it took you a little bit to get into like the world of Resident Evil. Like the story was kind of a lot. People joke about like Kingdom Hearts being complicated, but if you've ever had to like explain the pathway from Resident Evil as a series, like it's a lot. You have these 2 characters and they're in the first game, but then we have 2 other characters and all of these take place in one city, but then they don't because it moves to Europe, and then there's like a whole like global organization thing going on, and Wesker's there except for when he dies. It's just like there's a lot to keep tabs on.
You have me over here having an epiphany about why Kingdom Hearts and the Resident Evil series are 2 of my favorite series in video games.
I think that was also part of like why Welcome to Raccoon City was so fun for me, is because I took a friend to see it at the drive-in whose only exposure to Resident Evil is me, like streaming the games. And so every so often they would be like, okay, can you info dump about like who these people are and like how they're connected and how the games like fit in? And it's like, well, technically like they're trying to squeeze in like 3 games worth of story into this one thing, but they're also like changing some of the details so that it happens like concurrently. There's a lot.
But any opportunity to info dump.
Yes. And Leon is very much a himbo in that movie. So everybody's so mean to Leon in Welcome to Raccoon City.
They really
I just feel bad for him.
They do Leon dirty. I'm just saying.
There are rumors that they might be getting a second movie, and it looked like they were teasing like Code Veronica type stuff with the Ashfords.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't even seen the Welcome to Raccoon City film. I usually take a while to get around to like new TV shows and stuff. But I would be, I think probably like I've never played Code Veronica, but I know a lot of the fan base really love that game, and I would be interested to see a film on that for sure. And definitely a remake, even though I've never played it before.
It's very surprising that they haven't done a remake yet, because I feel like people are asking for it for sure.
I think they might. They have to. Like, now that they've done 4, like they've got to. They're getting a remake of everything. They got to do it.
I think a Code Veronica remake would be due before a Resident Evil 5 remake for sure. And yeah, like you said, like now that 4 is, I mean, that's coming out in like 2 months. I think a lot of the fan base are looking at Code Veronica now, and that is something I would also like to see, even though I haven't got around to the game yet myself. I know it's a huge favorite.
Yeah, I did see that there was a fan-made remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, and that was like shut down by Capcom. So that makes me think that they will remake it just because they shut down like the fan-made version, or they just shut it down because it was a fan-made version. I don't know, but everybody's speculating that them shutting down that fan-made version of Code Veronica is like hinting that they would maybe make a remake of it, which would be cool.
I would actually love to see a remake or a port of the on-rails Wii games that Mick was talking about, because they're like weird side stories, but they kind of provide a lot of details that the mainline games just don't. Like, in one of them, you get to see like how Leon and Krauser met. And then in one of them, you're playing as Wesker trying to like escape the mansion as it's about to blow up. And Lisa Trevor is like chasing you the whole time. It's like, I didn't know that was a conflict that I needed between Wesker, like pre-powered up, and Lisa Trevor. But yeah, I'm into it. There's a lot of the side games of Resident Evil 2 are so weird sometimes. Like, and I feel like they don't get as much love in a modern sense. Like Dead Aim is another like arcade shooter that was on the PS2. Survivor, people like to meme on because it's that one. The story's not great, but even Outbreak, I feel like Outbreak would do really well. That one was like,
I love Outbreak.
The most interstitial characters, like you would just try to survive as a group. It was like one of those weird titles on the PS2 and Xbox, I can't remember, that like had online co-op, and so you would like try to survive Resident Evil with these group of characters, and like the story would change depending on who survived. So I feel like they could definitely do something with that now.
Yeah, I was hoping that they would remake it. I'm still hoping that they'll remake Outbreak.
Occasionally they'll like reference the characters in that game. Like one of them was a journalist, and so like as a case file, and I think it might even be the Resident Evil 2 remake, you can find like a newspaper clipping that was written by one of the characters. It's like, are you giving it to us, or are you just like teasing?
I think there are definitely some games that I want to, if possible, give a try, because I know Mick, like you said, you really like Outbreak, and some of the side games. I think some of them are on like PS3, right? So I'm like honestly like half tempted to try and see if I can find like physical copies of them somewhere, like secondhand, because I know they're not like really all that much like talked about, and like you said, like don't get like a lot of love from the fan base, but I know that you get the extra content and stuff. I would love to see and experience myself.
It's very neat. It is kind of expensive because it's like one of those things that, you know, collectors hold on to it and then they don't sell, even though they're not going to play it. I have issues with retro gamers sometimes because it's just so expensive. And I would never encourage somebody to pirate a video game ever or emulate it, because that would be wrong.
Yeah.
Wink.
So wrong.
Well, and it's very frustrating because like I saw a post on Twitter the other day that was like, the PSN is still active for PlayStation 3, and they have a huge catalog of like PlayStation 1 titles that just aren't available on modern consoles. So it's like, if you as a publisher or a person like maintaining these shops are not going to make them available to the public like easily, of course people are going to like circumvent those methods, because why wouldn't you? Otherwise there's like no preservation of these games. And
that's
a scary
100%.
thing.
Yeah, I think the preservation of I guess like retro media in general, but particularly video games, is definitely a big thing. And with the PSN store on PS3, I know they were going to shut it down. I think it was last year or the year before, right? And people like argued against it and told them no. Because I've seen some, like there's some really cool retro games that are on there, like you said, with like PS1 games. Like, and they're cheap as well. Like if you look on the PS3 store, they were all really like well priced, but I am kind of deterred from buying them on there because like when those servers get shut down, like how am I supposed to access like my digital downloads on my PS3? It really sucks. I think I wish it was like more talked about. I think I know sorry, this is like Resident Evil episode, but it's like I really want to play the Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
I wish they weren't so difficult to like get a hold of and play. Because I it's two in particular that I want to give a go, but yeah, I wish older games were more easily accessible because it makes me sad.
Well, and that was like part of the problem with Silent Hill with the HD remaster, is that like part of the reason why those games were so bad is just that they had lost the original like source code and stuff. And so a lot of it they had to rebuild from the ground up. And then, you know, you get into discussions about like crunch and underfunding, and the HD collection really just did not have a lot going for it. And
the sign being in Comic Sans.
Yeah, exactly. And then Konami is just on their weird pachinko fix that they've been on for years that hurts my soul. I'm excited to see where the series goes from here. I wish they would bring back Jill, because I don't think we've heard anything from her really since since 5, because those take place after Revelations, I think.
It's my wife.
Yeah, I would love to see Jill back, and I mean I know we're getting Leon back in the 4 remake, but in a new title, just any of the older characters, Leon, Claire, Jill for
Rebecca.
sure. Yeah, Rebecca was really cute. I think it'd be cool for them to bring someone back.
I think she showed up in one of the CGI movies. I know Claire does for sure.
Yeah, I can't remember which one Rebecca is in.
Those movies are a trip.
I really want to watch them. I've never seen them. I know there's one in particular out of those like CGI animated ones that people really like. And I can't remember for the life of me what the name is. But I really want to watch them.
Those are ones I haven't seen.
There's one where Leon just like fucks up an enemy by riding a motorcycle into it, and that's very good. Leon can't drive a vehicle. That's also a pattern that I love in the Resident Evil games. Like if you give him something, he will crash it.
Oh my gosh.
So true.
He never gets very far. In Resident Evil 6, he drives the cop car like for 5 seconds before crashing it, and then he has to run into the sewers. Like
he crashes every single vehicle possible in that game. Like anything he can get his hands on, he's gonna ruin it. So good.
My poor boy. I know I struggle with like, you know, that TikTok where it's like all cops are bastards. Like,
oh my god,
and it progressively gets harder for them. Like I really do struggle with Leon with that one. It's like, yeah, fuck. Like,
it's okay. He was only a cop for a day. So, and it's for a department that literally doesn't exist anymore. So is he really a cop, or does he just think he's a cop?
We kind of lost this a bit, but I believe in the original PS1 like manual for Resident Evil 2. The reason why Leon is late for his first day on the job is because his girlfriend breaks up with him, and he goes to a hotel and gets very drunk and wakes up late. Like I think that is the reason why that he just does not show up during the
Oh my
zombie
God.
outbreak.
Oh my God. Could you imagine you just got dumped and then you show up to your job and then then you have to deal with all of oh my God. I like don't think I would have the strength to do. I'd be like, nope. Okay, I'm done.
That's why Resi 4 remake Leon looks so tired.
Yeah.
He's been through it.
He's never even processed his breakup yet. It's been years, but he still hasn't processed it. And now he has a kid.
He has a child.
Yeah, because him and Claire walk off with the kid. Do they like co-parent or something? I need more answers about that. Do you all know?
Cheryl, because she shows up in 6 as an adult.
Okay.
And I think it's just like she goes to some government facility where she receives training and stuff, and because she's like immune to certain strains of the G virus and stuff, so they want to keep her close at hand. And then she has to deal with Wesker's son, and then they fall in love.
Oh, okay.
What are some things that y'all would want to see from this series going forward?
Give me Jill and more monsters with eyes all over them. I love just them having eyes and having to shoot at them.
That's good. That's good. That's video game being video game.
I really don't know what I'd like to see from a new title with them. Because I know there's rumors about 9 being made. I mean, I could be completely wrong with this, but just like from things I've seen on like YouTube and stuff, and I think it's something like, I don't know, there's been suggestions of titles and stuff, but I honestly don't know what to expect with them. I would like for them to keep up like the same sort of vibes as Village, because I think Village was both like a really good new title in the series, but also had definitely like a lot of nods to the older games, like specifically for. So I think just for me, all I can hope is that they continue with what they have now, because I know that I mean, I didn't get into the series till a lot later than other people, but with 5 and 6, it definitely like kind of slowed down and people weren't as interested anymore, and like with the kind of revival with it with 7 and 8. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. That's a really good question.
Well, I think, and it's a good thing that they have so many titles like in their backlog that they can remake, kind of to bide their time, like between the next mainline entry. Because I believe, if I remember right, like both Resi 2 and 3 remakes were developed like concurrently with Village. And then once there was a greater focus on 2, they had their A team working on that. And then I think those folks went on to finish Village, and they had their B team develop Resident Evil 3, which is why it's a bit shorter. It cuts some content from the original game. It's still very solid, very fun to like go through in one sitting. But like I know some folks were disappointed by like how short it was. I don't know if we will get a remake of 5 or 6. And that's wild to say, because like 5, I think, was like Xbox 360's like most purchased title for like a good bit there. We'll see. I'll take as many movies and TV shows as they want, and I will love them all equally.
Yep, even the Mila Jovovich
100%.
I love Mila Jovovich.
I still need to watch the final chapter. I have not seen that one.
It's
Watch party.
a lot.
Yeah.
I'm so down for a watch party. Those movies get so ridiculous, but I still love them. I think one thing I would like to see, I feel like the Resident Evil series right now is at a really good position to kind of like with the way that Village kind of ended. I think they're at a really good position to even start like a new story and bring in some new characters. And like I would obviously love to see more of Jill, because I do feel like we haven't seen much, and I think it'd be good for us to see more Jill. So I think it'd be really cool if like the next couple games that they come out with, if they come out with new stories and stuff, if they find ways to like incorporate that into previous storylines. I don't know. I think they have there's a lot of potential now for like new content and new things, and I think that's really exciting.
I think Revelations 2 tried to like go down that. I don't know what the resources like were for that game, but it features Claire and Moira Burton, who's Barry's daughter, and they're dealing with like a cousin of the Ashfords or something. That would be very funny, though, if we got like a mainline thing that was like, I'm Wesker's second cousin, and I'm here to fuck you up.
Right.
I just love it. I love the boulder punching. I love how silly this series gets, and I love how scary it gets.
Perfect balance of silly and scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Usually we try to, like, with these episodes, tie in the topic of conversation to like our queer journey or existence. It's hard for me to make like a direct line with Resident Evil specifically, other than the fact that I am queer and love this
everyone's
game.
hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, more representation would be great too if we want to get some
Absolutely.
some cool folks.
Please.
Oh, for sure. But
That would give a lot to character development for someone.
I just like headcanon so many characters as like gay and trans.
Absolutely.
I just make it up myself.
Leona's headcanon in my head is a bicon.
Yes, I've literally got to me, Leon is bi, and I've also got my Leon Kennedy is transgender sticker right on my desk.
I would believe it.
In front of me at my PC. But I would like to see representation in the game for sure.
Absolutely.
That's definitely something I'd be hoping for in a new game. I don't know if you want to talk about speculations about the remake that's coming out, Resi 4 remake, if anyone has
for
any
sure. We can
thoughts
get into
on that and like what the extra content could be, because I know Mick definitely has some ideas that I agree with.
I haven't finished the RE4 yet, but I do need to know, do Ada and Leon kiss in Resident Evil 4?
No.
Okay, well, if they don't, then that's my speculation for added content. And that's a sandwich that I want to be in the middle of.
I will give you once you beat the main story of Resident Evil 4, there is a side campaign with Ada. There are like 2 game modes where you can play as Ada.
You didn't see it, but I just did the Debbie Ryan like hair, like behind my ear.
Same.
They're both.
I'm listening.
I hope they like expand on like Krauser and Leon's relationship in 4. Because they don't talk about it in 4. Like, he's just like, I hate you, and that's all we get.
Yeah.
That whole conference, that boss fight, the first part of it, where it's all quick time events, is so funny because, like, no matter how deep of a fan you are, there's just, like, no context for it. And so you have these lines, it's like you, I'm an American. It's like, okay.
What?
Yeah, I remember being thrown into that, and I was like, what's
It's like, who is this guy? Like, where did you come from?
That is definitely something I would like to see expanded on for sure.
I think we'll have more sections with Ashley as a playable character because they sprinkled those in like 2 or 3 times within Resident Evil 2. And there's one section where you play as her in 4, but it's very like brief.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we'll get either like stuff set before the main story with her, or like we'll just get more interstitial parts throughout. But I think that's a possibility. I hope they bring back the mercenaries mode.
I hope it has online like play.
Yes.
Too, so you can play with your friends.
Oh, that would be so fun.
I am so sad that the Village Mercenaries was not online multiplayer.
That's a shame. Why would they not make it online multiplayer?
I know. I mean, at least as far as I know, I don't know whether like they included something in the DLC, but I gave it a try a couple of days ago. It'd be so fun if that was multiplayer.
Do you think we're gonna get like an extra game, like, you know, Village had, what is it, Reverse, and then There was, what was the other one?
Oh my gosh.
Something. I can't remember it.
It's gonna come with Umbrella Squad. Okay, a remake of that, and Operation Raccoon City.
Operation Raccoon City was so bad.
You just reminded me of the most like wild feature in Resident Evil 6. Had a game mode where you played online and you could take control of a creature in somebody's story. So you could play as a zombie or a dog and like try to fuck with people as they're progressing through the main thing. And you had
so fun.
You had to like go into your like settings and say whether or not you wanted that feature on, because otherwise you would just get like Dark Soul or some asshole. Which is
such an interesting feature. Yeah, it's like, I mean, if they fine-tuned that, like, it could have been something great, but it was just wacky. Like, it was...
Oh, that'd be so fun, though.
Yeah, wait, I want to play that. Is it, I mean, I'm assuming it's still a feature in Resi 6, right?
Yeah, I think it probably is if you're, like, play it on Steam or something. I could try it. I just remember the load times being, like, very long. I also miss the PS3 having like free online capabilities.
Oh my gosh, I miss that so much. I used to play so much online Little Big Planet on my PlayStation 3.
Yeah. So I remember playing.
Do you think they're gonna expand on like Ada and Wesker's relationship, or?
That is, I think, something that I would most like to see out of the Resi 4 remake. Not because I'm biased towards Wesker, but I think if they are going to expand on content, I would not be opposed to some more Wesker screen time. That is something that I would like to see.
Says the number one Wesker simp.
Because we don't actually see Wesker, and we just kind of hear about him.
Yeah, I feel like he's like just on like a little screen like for like 2 minutes, and then like that's it. And they don't really expand on that. It's kind of like with Krauser, I guess. Like they just kind of throw him in there, and him and Leon obviously have some sort of like history, like they know each other.
Right.
And then like we see that Ada's working with Wesker, but it's not like expanded on. Like it's not really, or maybe I'm completely misremembering.
I think he just says he works for the organization, and they don't get a proper name.
Yeah, it's all very like, I don't know, from what I remember, because I mean I've only played Resi 4 once, and it was a while ago. It was all very like vague. I don't know. So I would like for that to be like cleared up, or like at least to give us a couple more details about it.
I want to say they reference it in 5.
I think, because 5 also deals with the Plagas, and so I think it's like, I think Ada secures him a sample to develop Ouroboros.
Oh my gosh.
Which you would think that Ada would not work with Wesker, considering what happened to John or whatever.
I feel like I'm always learning something new about these games because
there's so much. You kind of like are constantly. That's why I think why we all kind of love these games. That's why most people love these games who do love them, is that you can like replay the games multiple times and still learn like new stuff, whether it be about the game or about the universe.
That's what it really sucks that there is so much like lore within Resi 5, because it has such an ick factor to it. Like, god damn, it is miserable being this like white dude who goes into these like very stereotypical like African villages, and you're just like blasting through people the entire time. It's like,
oh, that sounds awful.
It's real gross.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah, I think if they remade it, I would like for them to amend that.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially because the fan base, like, following the game's release was very apologetic. It's like, oh, it's Japan. Like, they don't understand. It's like, they fucking do. Like,
they really do. But
we need to stop excusing racism as a whole just because it's, you know, made in a country that is really racist.
And like, I think that's why some folks theorized that Shiva was even thrown in as Chris's like partner to like kind of obfuscate some of that visual ickiness, but I don't know. Like, she's a cool character, but it feels bad. It feels bad playing that game.
And then we never see her again.
Yeah, I loved her. She kind of carried 5. She carried Chris. Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't there. I don't know. Like, what would happen to Chris?
He would have got ate up by the gators. Like, that's
100%.
I love Sheva. I think like I would like to have seen more of her. I think she was a really great character.
Yeah. That's one thing we can hope for them to do is bring her back.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
And she's in DVD, so it's like she's in.
Yeah. And she's also locked behind Jill, which is, I find kind of gross. So.
Oh.
Yeah, I wish that they brought her as her own character. That was, yeah. I wish that she was her own and not like
and
you
a
said, like, look
paywall.
behind Jill, right? It's Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially as it was brought out with Wesker, it feels kind of iffy.
Because Rebecca has much less to do with Wesker. I mean, they're on stars, but like that's about it.
I think it would have made more sense for Sheva to be in there. But one can hope that we see her again in the Resi universe. Because I really liked her.
Well, thank y'all for hanging out with me and talking about Resident Evil. I'm so fucking hyped for the 4 remake. I think I've said that in the last like 3 or 4 recordings that we've done, but we're just getting closer to it, and I'm not any less excited. Oh, the regenerators are going to be so awful. It's going to be so good.
I'm so excited.
Oh,
It comes out right in time for my birthday, I think. Hold on. When does it come out?
I keep forgetting about the regenerators, and I'm like, yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no.
It's
Then I'm like, wait, I'm gonna have to face these guys again, and it's gonna be way worse.
You were complaining that the game wasn't scary enough. Well, here are regenerators.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it comes out 11 days after my birthday, so
a nice little treat for yourself.
happy birthday to me. Thank you, Capcom.
Do you have anything exciting going on your channels or stuff you want to plug before we wrap up?
I'm still playing through Resident Evil 4 and posting my first playthroughs slowly on YouTube. That's like the only thing I'm going to like that's Resident Evil related. I'm definitely going to play more Resident Evil games. But I also play a lot of cozy games. So if you only like horror, you probably won't like me. You won't like my streams. I go from horror to like Coral Island, so I can never make up my mind.
I like that though. It's a good balance.
Yeah.
The duality of a variety streamer.
Precisely. Yeah. But this was really fun, though. Like, I really appreciate being a part of this conversation. I love talking about my hyperfixations. As an autistic person, give me any excuse to talk about a hyperfixation. I'm there for it. So thank you.
Yes, 100%. I'm also playing through the games for the first time, if I can plug that. I am like very new to a lot of games, and I am also playing through The Last of Us, and I'm currently hyperfixated on God of War, so I'm all over the place. I just got a PlayStation, so I'm playing all the games now.
Let's go.
So you can find me over at Twitch or anywhere at Melimenji. So
I don't really have anything going on. I've been thinking about playing through like Resident Evil 1, but I've just been really focused on Story of Seasons. Fire Emblem comes out in like a week, and I'll be playing that. But yeah, I mean, I'm a variety streamer, and you can catch me at miktastic.twitch.tv or something similar to that.
In terms of Resident Evil content, I'm intending on playing through Resi 4 again before the remake comes out. So that will be, I don't know, maybe like February, March sometime. And I also have a Lady D cosplay in the works at some point. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I've got a couple of fun ideas in mind to do with the Resi games. So if you would be interested in that, it's twitch.tv/Rat Pack with 2 R's and pack spelled PAK.
Yay! And we'll have everybody's links in the episode description and all that good stuff. All right, to close out the show, for every episode, we come up with a new tagline for the show. Historically, it has always gone very badly.
I'm like, my brain is wanting to mesh something about being queer and how everyone in Resident Evil is hot, but I don't know how to turn that into a catchphrase. Because that's all my brain can think of is like, Ari, Resident Evil, hot person, brain rot, go burr. Like, that's...
I think that fits.
Be the dommy mommy that you want to see in the world.
Yes. Be the dommy zombie mommy that you want to see in the world.
Fantastic.
I can get behind that.
Hey cuties, thanks for listening to our podcast. If you like this episode of Arcade Cuties, be sure to let us know by leaving a review on iTunes, sharing the show with a friend, and leaving us suggestions for future episodes. Make sure to follow us on our social media to stay up to date with our content. We appreciate all of the love and support. Until next time, bye cuties!